Unfortunately, actor Jason David Frank took his own life in 2022, but that tragic event didn't erase his incredible legacy. When we talk about Power Rangers, there's one name that instantly comes to every fan's mind: Tommy Oliver. But here's the question no one's ever really asked properly. Why did this legendary character have so many different colors? Green, white, red, black? He literally lived through multiple eras of the franchise. And it wasn't just about costumes or marketing. Each color change had a story behind it, full of bold decisions, iconic moments, and creative strategies that helped shape the Rangers' legacy. In this video, I'll break down that entire epic journey, exploring every one of Tommy's transformations, the behind-the-scenes stories, highs and lows of Jason David Frank's career, and discovering why he became, without a doubt, the most legendary Ranger of all time. Get ready. What do you think you know about Tommy Oliver might just be the tip of the iceberg. And if you love Tommy Oliver and Jason David Frank, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content.
Before anything else, it's important to remember the context of the time. In the 90s, Power Rangers wasn't just a kids show. It was a cultural phenomenon. It was everywhere. TV, magazines, toys, lunchboxes, backpacks. And right in the middle of that storm stood Tommy Oliver. He wasn't just the Green Ranger. He symbolized something very few kids shows managed to capture: the idea that a character could change, make mistakes, seek redemption, and still be loved for it. When Tommy went from villain to hero, the audience followed every step of that journey. That made him both the most relatable and the most legendary character in the entire franchise. While other Rangers came and went with each new season, Tommy stayed, and that created a powerful emotional connection between the audience and actor Jason David Frank. He wasn't just playing a Power Ranger, he was the definitive Ranger. Few characters in Power Rangers history have had an impact as huge as Tommy Oliver, portrayed by Jason David Frank. He's the Ranger who changed uniforms more than anyone else, taking on 4 different colors over the course of his story. In Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Tommy was introduced as the Green Ranger, initially under the mind control of Rita Repulsa. His powers came from the Dragon Power Coin, granting him incredible abilities and control over the mighty Dragon Zord. However, after the destruction of the Green Candle, Tommy lost his powers. Later, Zordon restored the Green Ranger's abilities, allowing Tommy to return to the team. The iconic Green with Evil saga was just the beginning of a story that would make him unforgettable. As the years went by, Tommy gained new suits and powers reflecting his evolution within the franchise. In the 90s, every time he appeared on screen as the Green Ranger, ratings would skyrocket. Saban quickly realized that Tommy wasn't just another team member, he was a phenomenon. That's why they kept bringing him back, giving him new colors and roles to keep audiences hooked. Saban understood early on that they had something rare, a character who didn't just boost ratings, but also sold massive amounts of toys and merchandise. Tommy became a cornerstone of the entire franchise. Interestingly, in Japan, the Super Sentai format replaced the cast every year. But in the West, American audiences became so attached to the original team that Saban broke tradition, keeping Tommy as a constant presence. Each new color and suit became a clever way to keep him at the heart of the story. It was a brilliant move. He reinvented himself with every new phase, yet never lost his essence. That gave the series an emotional continuity that no other Super Sentai adaptation ever had. And that's why Tommy ultimately became the connecting thread of the entire Power Rangers mythology.
During the 1990s, the Power Rangers production team worked hard to keep as many of the original cast members as possible. That's why Tommy, Kat, and Adam appeared in multiple consecutive seasons, including Mighty Morphin, Zeo, and Turbo. As a result, each of these characters took on new forms within a relatively short period, maintaining both the franchise's continuity and the audience's emotional connection. Jason David Frank, who portrayed Tommy Oliver, stood out in a unique way. Unlike many other actors who moved on to different careers after their time on Power Rangers, Frank chose to fully dedicate himself to the universe of the franchise. He embraced the role so deeply that it became a defining part of his life, transforming his career into a true legacy tied to the Power Rangers saga. Tommy Oliver became an icon, not just for being the first Ranger to take on a new color, but also for his frequent returns throughout the 2000s and 2010s. Over time, he solidified his place as a true legend within Power Rangers history. Interestingly, there was even a concept for a lost season called Hexagon, in which Tommy would have been the main character, and surprisingly, the villain. Although the project was never produced, there was a script in development that would have pitted Tommy and Jason against each other in what was described as a kind of Power Rangers civil war. At the start of his journey, Tommy faced the challenge of redefining his identity, gaining a new color and role after ending his run as the Green Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. In the Japanese Super Sentai version, the Green Ranger's counterpart, Burai, had a limited presence in the story and met a tragic end. Because of that, the American adaptation also had to limit the Green Ranger's screen time, coming up with in-universe explanations for his frequent absences during battles. These kinds of limitations were a recurring issue in the early seasons. The Japanese footage had fewer episodes and very specific fight scenes, which forced the American writers to invent creative ways to justify why certain Rangers weren't always present in combat. For the Green Ranger, the situation was even more complicated. Since Burai died early in Super Sentai, there was no more footage to use. As a result, the American version of Tommy was constantly losing his powers, or growing weaker, or being captured. All clever ways to disguise the lack of available material.
Ironically, these improvised solutions gave the character a tragic and mysterious aura, making him even more popular. Fans felt emotionally invested in each of his limited appearances, as if they were truly watching a hero on the verge of disappearing. When the stock of Super Sentai footage finally ran out and the Green Ranger had to be written off, the producers decided to introduce a new sixth Ranger, the White Ranger. Initially, Saban's idea was to create an entirely new character played by a different actor. However, Jason David Frank's massive popularity made that impossible. He simply had to bring him back. After Austin St. John, who played Jason, left the series, the White Ranger became the new team leader. Within the story, the context was explained as follows. After the departure of the original Rangers, Zordon and Alpha 5 created the White Ranger to lead the new team. Tommy was chosen because of his courage and integrity. His powers came from the light of goodness, which made him immune to evil control. He also received Saba, the talking sword, and commanded the White Tiger Zord. It's worth noting that Austin's departure, along with that of other members of the original cast, caused a major stir behind the scenes. Many actors decided to leave the show over salary disputes. Despite Power Rangers being a global phenomenon in the 90s, airing in dozens of countries and generating billions in toy and licensing revenue, the main cast members earned shockingly low pay and endured grueling work schedules. The contrast between the franchise's massive success and how little the actors were paid was, to say the least, deeply unfair. At the time, there were no active unions protecting actors in children's television, and many felt exploited. Austin St. John, the original Red Ranger, revealed years later that he earned less than a waiter per episode. That frustration was one of the main reasons he, Walter Jones, and Thuy Tang decided to leave the show, which ultimately opened the door for Tommy to take over as the team's leader.
Ironically, that turbulent exit was what solidified Jason David Frank as the new face of the franchise. He went from supporting character to main protagonist, something that rarely happened in shows of that kind. After the events of the White Light arc, Tommy continued as the White Ranger until the end of Mighty Morphin's third season. The character also appeared prominently in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie 1995, released between seasons 2 and 3, though the film isn't considered part of the show's official canon. While Mighty Morphin Power Rangers ran for 145 episodes, the Japanese Super Sentai series it was based on had only about 50 episodes. That meant that even with extra footage and creative editing, it would eventually become impossible to continue without switching to a new Japanese season as source material. In 1996, Power Rangers Zeo premiered, introducing a brand new look and new powers. After David Yost, Billy, left the show, the Zeo team was reduced to 5 main Rangers. Since Tommy had already been the leader since Mighty Morphin, he naturally assumed the role of the Zeo Ranger V Red. Within the story, after the destruction of Zordon's power chamber, the Rangers discovered the Zeo Crystal, which granted them new powers. Tommy, now the Red Zeo Ranger, led the team once again with upgraded abilities, continuing to fight against evil alongside his teammates. At this stage of the story, Jason returned to the series, but this time, their roles were reversed. Tommy was now the Red Ranger, while Jason became the 6th Ranger, the Gold Ranger, with a striking new look. Power Rangers Zeo represented a turning point for the franchise, not only visually, but emotionally. It was the
the first time a completely new generation of powers was introduced, and once again, Tommy was at the center of the transition. The rivalry between Jason and Tommy, now standing on opposite sides of leadership, gave the story an almost mythic quality. In a way, they represented two eras. Jason symbolized the past, raw strength, and the original spirit of the Power Rangers, while Tommy embodied the future, evolution, renewal, and maturity. Then, in 1997, during the events of Power Rangers Turbo, following the conclusion of Zeo, Tommy Oliver, now a seasoned leader, took on the role of the Red Turbo Ranger.
He received the Turbo Morphin grid powers, allowing him to transform and battle the villain Divatox. His Zord was the Red Lightning Turbo Zord, and his main weapon was the Turbo Lightning Sword. However, during the season, Tommy decided to pass on his powers to TJ Johnson, a new ally who had proven himself brave and capable of leading. This moment was depicted in the episode Passing the Torch, where Tommy officially handed over his powers and the leadership mantle, ensuring the Earth would remain protected. After stepping away from the series for a few years, Tommy made a spectacular return in the legendary crossover Forever Red, one of the most memorable episodes in the entire franchise. The special brought together almost every Red Ranger up to that point, with the exception of Rocky, for an epic and emotional battle. Despite the fact that Forever Red was beloved by fans, it did introduce some continuity issues. Tommy appeared using his Zeo powers without any explanation of how he regained them, and the fate of the Zeo crystals was never officially addressed. Additionally, despite the teams having already transitioned to the Turbo powers in 1997, characters like TJ were still seen using their older abilities during the crossover. Despite these inconsistencies, Forever Red further strengthened Tommy Oliver's legacy, marking the first time he reused one of his past powers, something that would become a recurring element throughout Power Rangers history. And after Forever Red, Tommy Oliver would make his grand return to the franchise once again, but this time wearing a color he had never used before. Years after his last appearance, Tommy made his long-awaited return in Power Rangers Dino Thunder, 2004, this time as Dr. Tommy Oliver, a paleontologist living in Reefside. There, he discovered the power of the Black Dino Gem, which granted him the ability to turn invisible. It took only 4 episodes before he donned the suit once again and returned to action. The Black Dino Ranger marked Tommy's 4th Ranger color and his 5th transformation overall. Despite being one of the franchise's most iconic figures, Tommy wasn't the main protagonist this time. Instead, he served as a mentor and role model to his students. This was the first time the franchise truly explored what happens when a Ranger grows older, and it was brilliant. Dino Thunder presented a version of Tommy burdened by his past battles, someone who had seen both the best and the worst of the Ranger's power.
The way he guided his students felt almost paternal, adding a powerful emotional layer to the story. He taught that being a Ranger isn't just about fighting, it's about knowing when to act, when to step back, and when to trust others. Every line from Dr. Oliver carried echoes of everything Tommy had been through, his failures, his triumphs, and his losses. That's what makes this version of him so special. It represents not only Tommy's growth and maturity, but also that of the entire Power Rangers franchise, which finally learned to look back at its own history with respect. Maybe part of it comes from nostalgia, but Dino Thunder remains an outstanding season with great characters, charisma, and story arcs. And of course, Dr. Oliver was the cherry on top. Because Tommy appeared in so many seasons and wielded so many different powers, the franchise was able to explore his legacy in unique and creative ways. In the episode Fighting Spirit, Tommy had to confront his own fears, facing 3 of his former selves: the Green Ranger from Mighty Morphin, the White Ranger, and the Red Zeo Ranger. Later, in Super Mega Force, during the episode Legendary Battle, Tommy once again returned as the Green Ranger, joining dozens of legendary Rangers in an epic team-up.
And here's a really cool detail. Tommy Oliver is the only character in the Power Rangers universe to possess an artifact as powerful as the Master Morpher. Introduced in the special episode Dimensions in Danger from Super Ninja Steel, the Master Morpher is an advanced device that allows Tommy to access all his previous Ranger forms, including the Green Ranger, White Ranger, Zeo Ranger v Red, Red Turbo Ranger, and Black Dino Ranger. This makes him the only character in the franchise to wield such an item, further reinforcing his legendary status within the Power Rangers universe. If anyone deserved a device that powerful, it could only be Tommy Oliver, a ranger who wore more colors and forms than anyone else in history. In contrast, other rangers who held multiple colors throughout the series, like Bridge from SPD, green, blue, and red, or Adam and Kat, who each switched between two colors, never received an artifact as versatile or significant as the Master Morpher. That alone highlights just how unique Tommy is within the lore. The Master Morpher doesn't just symbolize Tommy's evolution, it serves as a bridge connecting different generations of Rangers, allowing fans from every era to see their heroes united in one epic moment. The act of changing colors itself became one of the franchise's defining traits, yet Tommy Oliver's record will likely remain unbeaten. From a mind-controlled villain in Mighty Morphin to a wise mentor in Dino Thunder, his journey embodies both personal growth and the enduring power of legacy. Tommy's popularity among fans was so immense that the production team always found a way to bring him back whenever possible. Every new color he wore wasn't just a different look, it was a new chapter in the story, a symbol of transformation and evolution. In the end, each of those power and costume changes represented more than just a switch in color. They solidified the legacy of Tommy Oliver, true legend of Power Rangers, whose story continues to inspire generations of fans. Thanks for watching.